Chapter 4. Is he just consuming you? In Chapter 3, you likely recognize Laura to be in a state of flux in her life and not ready to take on the responsibility of pet ownership. Despite her great love of puppies and a strong desire to have a doggie in her life, she was not prepared to purchase or adopt, and she wouldn't allow herself to be pressured into it. Laura wasn't ready, willing, or able to make the commitment she knew was necessary to be a responsible pet owner, especially as that relates to financial strain and restriction of her freedom. Laura knows she will one day be ready, but until that time, she is unwilling to sacrifice her free time, money, and liberty in exchange for the love of a canine companion. Like it or not, this is how a man can feel about a formal romantic commitment, most specifically marriage, because marriage has an inherently formal and legal financial component of responsibility that a man takes very seriously. In our story, you represent a man being ready, willing, and able to commit. Because you prepared and felt ready and able to take on the responsibility of a puppy, you went out and got one. It was that simple. In some ways, when the time is right for a man to be in a committed relationship, it is that simple for him to go out and pick a cute puppy. Once a man has his educational, financial, and professional life in order, and has fulfilled all the single life experiences he feels he wants to have had before settling down, he will commit. This fact is borne out by statistics, as well as what we see socially. According to the U.S. Census of 2012, only 20% of adults aged 25 and up have never been married. That means a whopping 80% of adults are married or have been married at least once. Men want to commit and do commit. They just have to be in the right state of mind to do so. They have to be in a state of readiness, willingness, and ability to take on responsibility for the long run. They have to be in the state of being a buyer. The consumer state. In our hypothetical trip to the breeder, Laura illustrated a man when he is in the state of being a consumer. Just because Laura wasn't ready to take on the responsibility of a puppy doesn't mean that she doesn't love puppies. Laura actually loves puppies more than most things in life, and she dreams about having her own puppy one day. Laura is with puppies the way most men are with women. Just like Laura spends several hours a day online viewing and sharing everyone's cute puppy photos, a busy man finds the time to view a lot of women's profiles online. Just as Laura volunteers a few times a week at a shelter just to be around puppies, and she regularly donates money to a national charity for pets, a man spends money looking for women and dating. Just as when Laura wants to relax after a stressful day, she'll sometimes go to the dog park just to watch the dogs run and play together. A man casually sleeps with women and may spend part of his free time looking at women on erotic websites. Laura's interest and time spent on her love of puppies does not mean she is ready, willing, or able to take one home. When a man is a consumer, he is like Laura. He consumes a woman, or lots of women, but he won't commit. Consumers are simply men who love puppies in all shapes, sizes, colors, and ages. Puppies are all cute, comforting, and crazy-making to men. The good kind of crazy-making. A man will consume any amount of time, attention, and affection a cute puppy will give him, for as long as she is willing and makes it easy for him. If he's in a state of being a consumer, the man will not adopt. This is true whether or not the man is in love with a particular pup. A man is in the state of being a consumer when he has not achieved his educational, career, or avocational goals and believes he will not be able to achieve them while in a relationship. A man is in the state of being a consumer when he has not fulfilled the single life experiences he wants to have had before settling down with one woman. A man is in the state of being a consumer when he lacks confidence that he can be faithful. A man is in the state of being a consumer when he is not financially successful, stable, or feeling capable of becoming so while in a relationship. A man is in the state of being a consumer when he is or is not in love. It's important to note that being in love will not usually trump any of the first 4 items on the list of consumer characteristics. A man is not a buyer simply because he is in love. Remember, he's a man, a being who can love all women to one degree or another. When a man is a consumer, he will consume a woman he likes or even loves for as long as she is willing to be consumed, with no intention of making a commitment. With rare exception, a consumer will leave a woman he loves rather than take on the responsibility of a relationship before he has fulfilled the first 4 items on the list of consumer characteristics. Don't be taken for a ride. In the world of car sales, the slang for consumers is tire kickers. Tire kickers are guys, usually, who just love to go to the new car lots, look at all the shiny new models, take in their sights and smells, talk to the salesman about all the latest features, take test drives, and generally walk around kicking tires. Tire kickers have no real intention of signing on a dotted line and buying a new car. No matter how good the sales pitch, a tire kicker is very unlikely to buy. This doesn't mean that it never happens. It's simply rare. For a deal to be sealed, it takes a great deal of patience, determination, and haggling on the part of the salesperson. Prospective buyers walk onto a new car lot truly in the market to purchase a car. They've done their research, selected their particular model, and either gotten their finances together or know how the financing works. The salesperson needs to do very little to sell to a buyer. The transaction with a buyer happens easily, naturally, and within a reasonable amount of time. Consumers are the relationship equivalent of tire kickers. While consumers love to take in the wonderful sights, smells, and features of the latest models, taking them out for long test drives, they generally waste the time and effort of the well-intentioned saleswoman looking to seal a deal. Put him to the test. Many women want to know if there's anything that can be done to transition a consumer to a buyer. Just as with the salesperson trying to get a tire kicker to make a deal, it can take a great deal of time and effort with little to no guarantee of success. It is a serious gambling game. While the game certainly depends on the category of consumer into which a man falls, and other factors unique to each relationship, it mostly depends on the steps a woman is willing to take, her emotional resolve to take the steps, and her level of patience once the steps are taken. Time by itself will not change a consumer into a buyer. This is why it is so important to scale a man on where he is at this moment. You can do this by taking the consumer versus buyer relationship test, a test I created to identify a man's state of readiness, willingness, and ability to commit. I make the consumer versus buyer relationship test available to any woman reading this book simply by logging on to my website. By completing the test, you will know where a man with whom you're involved falls on the consumer versus buyer scale. To complete the test and view the results, go to CoachPaulagrooms.com and click Relationship Evaluation. No judgments. The consumer versus buyer relationship concept is not about categorizing men as good or bad, right or wrong. Most consumers do not purposely set out to disappoint, hoodwink, or otherwise hurt women. Does the tire kicker step onto the car lot with complete awareness that he is not going to buy? Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. Mostly, the tire kicker is so infatuated with the new models that he can't help himself from wanting to take in all their gloriousness and go for test drives. Sometimes he knowingly wastes the time of the salesperson, and others he fools himself into believing that he just might buy if the car is right. There are times when he just wants to try out a different make or model. There are other times when he just can't help himself from stopping by the dealer to check out a sale. Make no mistake, though. If a guy doesn't have his finances in order to buy the model that he wants, and that he can comfortably afford, he will walk out of the dealership having wasted the time of the salesperson, justifying and telling himself that it was the poor salesmanship, the wrong deal, or in some way just wasn't the right time. When he's not in the market. In the next few chapters, you'll learn a great deal more about the two types of consumers and two types of buyers. You'll also get to know the 8 toxic consumers to avoid. For now, I want you to fully understand a man's state of being as a consumer, and for that, I need to ask you a favor. Will you take him to be yours? I have a puppy and I need your help. I have to spend every weekend with my sick grandmother who lives where pets are strictly forbidden. You love dogs, so I ask you to please take my little guy, Scout, every Friday night until I come back on Monday to pick him up. Scout is a great dog, the kind you take home to mother. Easy to be with, comes when called, walks off leash, and is a guy magnet. You love being with Scout. Each Friday you look forward to having him with you for the weekend. You take him to sidewalk cafes to have lunch and brunch. You tie him up outside when you visit local shops. And everyone in your neighborhood is getting to know him and love him. A few of the store's owners have given you treats for Scout, and you enjoy the comments about how he is so cute and well-behaved. All your friends are fond of him and tell you how adorable you are together. They always remind you what a great dog he is and tell you that you aren't likely to ever find a better behaved pup. Because he loves it so much, you enjoy giving Scout a bath in your tub, even though it makes a mess. He looks so cute when he's all lathered up, and you love how excited he gets after he is dried off and starts shaking the towel and prancing around your apartment like he owns the place. You take lots of selfies together, and he sleeps with you in bed every night. It's so comforting and relaxing to have Scout share your weekends. On several occasions, you've been sick, and just having Scout there to keep you company made you feel better. You were just coming off a terrible breakup when you decided to take Scout, and it made you feel instantly better to have him around. You've grown to really love the little guy. You don't mind spending almost anything on him when he's with you. So much so that you find you can't pass a pet store without getting a little something he'll like. Some weekends, you take Scout to your friend's beach house or to visit your parents. Your father adores him, and you love watching the two of them play fetch in the yard. Your dad gets up each morning you're there and takes Scout for long walks. He's told you that Scout makes him feel younger. While you sense your mom's worries that Scout is causing your dad to think about getting his own puppy, you see that she really loves having Scout come home with you, and having him with you makes the weekends a bit more special. Every Monday when I come to retrieve Scout, you are sad for a moment. As I gather up his toys and treats to leave, you keep kissing and hugging him and telling him, "I love you, Scout," as we head out the door. He stops midway in the hall to look back at you, signaling that he feels close to you and that he knows he belongs with you in some way. It tugs at your heart, but when you shut the door and start your week, you don't think much about Scout again until I arrive with him the next Friday night. Our arrangement goes on for 10 months. When I remind you how long it's been, you're shocked, as you really didn't think much about it. The time merely passed. You always knew you'd take care of Scout for me as long as it worked for you, and you wanted to keep doing it. Calling him out on his consumerism. We need to talk, I say one Monday when I come to your door. I now have to take care of my grandmother permanently and need to move in with her. I look at you very seriously and grab your hand. I know you love Scout, so I'm giving him to you to be totally yours. You are completely taken aback. How could I think that you would want Scout to be yours full time? The room starts spinning. As you catch your breath, you begin to tell me why it is that you can't take this dog. You have a list of all the things you're looking to do in the next few years, including taking that promotion you know you'll be offered in the next few months. You want to start training for the marathon, saving for a house, and taking an African safari. Besides, although you love Scout, the weekend arrangement wasn't permanent. You tell me you thought you were just hanging out with Scout without any strings attached, and that's what made it so great for you. You felt free, and it was fun to have Scout like he was yours, minus the responsibility. To take Scout full-time was not what you signed up for. When you looked down at him, patiently watching us, wagging his tail, and lovingly gazing up at you, he now doesn't look so cute. He's making you feel guilty. This isn't at all what you wanted. I'm shocked, and can't believe you wouldn't want to be with Scout forever. I don't understand, I say. You've shared a great relationship with him for 10 whole months. You've been going out together to dinners and brunch, shopping in the park. You've even introduced him to your parents, who happen to love him. Everyone has seen you together for nearly a year now, and your friends all tell you he's great. I keep going on and on about it being unfair to Scout and remind you of all the good things you've ever said about him. Scout's been there with you in good times and bad, I point out. You've had tons of fun, and you yourself have said he couldn't be any cuter or easier to be with. What more could you want? I continue to admonish you and become more and more upset at your lack of showing emotion. For goodness sake, I say in disbelief. You've been sleeping together every weekend for nearly a year. How could you? You told me you love him. How can you not want him as yours forever? You are a consumer too. Women have all had experiences as consumers. Yet we blast men who live in the state of being unable to commit because they are not ready to take on what they see as a responsibility. Because women view commitment as a natural outgrowth of love, it is sometimes challenging to step into the shoes of a consumer. In our hypothetical tale involving Scout, being tied down with a pet would restrict your current and foreseeable future freedom. The driving motivation behind your consumerism involved being mature and true to your own needs despite how much you loved Scout. The shock you felt when I asked you to adopt Scout permanently is what a consumer feels when faced with a woman making assumptions. Women often assume that time spent together, expressed feelings, and a desire for fun, friendship, sleeping together, and the experience of being part of a couple automatically means a man wants to be in a committed relationship for the long term. When a man is in the state of being a consumer, he'll embrace it when you're there for him in the bad times and when he isn't feeling well. He'll relish every moment of taking you on walks, hanging out, having meals, taking bubble baths, sleeping together, frolicking in your apartment, going on trips, and even introducing you to his family and friends. Though he does not want the responsibility of a long-term relationship, this doesn't make him a bad person. Having other things that he wants to take care of before committing to be responsible to a wife and the possible children that can come from a union doesn't make him a bad man. He takes your continuing to hang out on the weekends as acceptance of things as they are. He figures your bark, what you say to him, doesn't mean much because you don't bite. Show him through behavior that you don't accept his unwillingness to commit. I trust you got a lot of good information from today's video, and I enjoy bringing you content that is valuable for success in your romantic life. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the alert bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. And if you want more on any of the content you see here, you can go to my book, Why Won't He Commit? How a Man Decides to Make You the One. You can order it at any fine retailer where you get your books. And if you want more on me or any of my programs, my podcast, go to CoachPaulagrooms.com, and we could be talking soon.